Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. In today's video I have a highly anticipated dupe of the Natasha Denona Gold palette. The reason I said highly anticipated is because I have been getting a lot of questions from you guys about where to get a good dupe of the Natasha Denona Gold palette. So far I have compared it to one palette here on my channel, which is from W7 and it's called 24 karat gold. And whilst that is a good, and as far as you're in the UK or in Europe, a widely accessible dupe, in the USA I feel like there are better options. So the one we're talking about today is from Alter Ego and it's called the Goddess palette. And you guys, this is an incredible dupe. I would actually say that I prefer this one over the original one, and you will see in my video why I say that. Technically you can already see that on my eyes as well, because I completed this eye makeup look using the dupe palette and I just feel like the shimmery shade is more vibrant, the cut crease I created stayed more sharp, and even the dark shade just somehow looks better. I feel like every shade performs the same or better than they do in the Natasha Denona palette. So I always knew that Alter Ego was a really good brand, but now I'm really excited to get more dupes from them because this seems to be very promising. So as you guys probably know, as you clicked on this video, this is the Natasha Denona Gold palette. Sorry if my ring light reflects in it. It has a quite reflective surface, as you can see. So once again, this is the gold palette, and inside gorgeous gold and cool toned brown shades, some blues, some duochrome shades. This palette is absolutely gorgeous, and I feel like this is the most iconic Natasha Denona palette. This was definitely the palette I heard the most people talk about, and I was really excited to get this one. However, it costs $129 or £111 in the UK. As I mentioned in my previous video, when I compared this one to the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, I did manage to get both of these palettes on a kind of discounted price. I paid £70 for this palette on eBay, so I was quite happy about that. But if you are going to pay full price, you have to pay £111, which is almost the same amount you need to pay for a Pat McGrath palette. And whilst in Pat McGrath palettes you do get less number of shades, I think the quality is not the same. So I feel like in order to be able to justify the £111 price point, she decided to give us a lot of product, and there is really a lot of product in here. 37.5 grams of product. That is really a lot. As you can see, there are 15 shades in total. Some of them are quite similar. I definitely don't think that you needed both of these medium brown shades, but that's just me personally. Other than that, it's a very gorgeous palette, and I know a lot of people would love to have this or something similar to this, but not all of us can afford to pay the price for it. So the Goddess palette, you do get significantly less product in this one. You get 13.5 grams of product. However, you do get a dupe for every single shade from the Natasha Denona palette, slightly rearranged order, of course. I believe they do that to avoid any lawsuit. I don't know if that's enough to avoid it, but nevertheless, you do get an exact dupe of every single shade from the other palette. So even those two almost identical brown shades get their own dupes. Every single shade does, and they are really amazing dupes for $16. Now the only thing is that this brand is, as far as I know, not available anywhere else on the world. They don't ship outside of the US. So I had to go to eBay to purchase this from America, and I had to pay a lot of money for the shipping, and I also had to pay extra for the palette itself because it was a brand new palette, and I believe the person was trying to make a little bit of an extra money on it, which is fine. But I did end up paying $24 for the palette itself, plus $26 for the shipping and the duty fees. So I paid $50 in total, which is quite a lot of money for the dupe palette. As all other Natasha Denona palettes, the gold palette was made in Italy, whilst the goddess palette was made in the People's Republic of China. However, they are both cruelty-free. Now, before we jump into the part where I show you how I created this eye makeup look, I'm gonna very quickly insert the swatches for you to see. First, I swatched the first 8 shades. On the top, you have the dupe palette, on the bottom you have the original, and as you can see, they are absolutely identical. I honestly could not tell any difference. The duochrome shade was just as duochrome as the original one. They felt the same to the touch. They performed equally as good. Maybe the dupes of the shades Aria and Dijon were a bit lighter and less pigmented than the original one, but other than that, they were completely the same. And in the second half of the palette, I could not find any flow. Again, maybe the dupe of the shade Teak was slightly lighter and less pigmented, but it's an amazing palette, and all of the dupes are exact dupes, texture wise, color wise, opacity wise, absolutely beautiful. So now let's jump into the footage of me creating this eye makeup look. As always, I used the cheaper palette on this side of the face, which is once again the Alter Ego Goddess palette, and the more expensive palette on this side of the face, which was today the Natasha Denona Gold palette. As you can see, I started each step with the original palette as I always do. First, I took the shade Teak and I applied it to my crease, focusing on the outer corner, and I also applied it to the outer V, and I make sure it's fully blended. On the dupe side, this shade is called Juno, and it performed exactly the same, very, very good shade. Then to darken up the outer corner, I took the shade Log, which is the dark brown shade in this palette. On the dupe side, this shade is called Avalon. Now I must say that Log is slightly more easy to build up and definitely a lot more cool toned. And because it's more cool toned, it does appear to be darker on the screen, but in real life they are extremely similar, and they were both very easy to blend. Once I was done with this, I went off camera and I did my cut crease using the Born This Way concealer from Too Faced in the shade Nude. When that was done, I came back and I started applying the Lime Chrome shade, which is this gorgeous pink and green duochrome shade in the Natasha Denona palette. And then I took the same shade from the dupe palette called Cassandra. And I don't know if you guys can tell on the footage, but the dupe one is so much more shimmery, and it really stays put where you applied it. So whilst in the Natasha Denona palette, this lime chrome shade slowly started transferring to my crease and over to the matte shade, and because of that really diffused that contrast between the matte dark shade and between the shimmery shade. That didn't happen on the Alter Ego side. That line I created using the concealer stayed really sharp and beautiful, and the shimmery shade itself as well is just so much more shimmery, so much more gorgeous, and I would even say that it's more duochrome than the Natasha Denona one. Once I was done with that, I took the shade Sparks, which is the white shade in the palette. Once you apply it, it's not really white, it's more like a white gold shade, very subtle, more like a topper shade in the dupe palette. This shade is called Freya, and I must say that again, Freya performed better. Once I was done with all this, I went off camera and I applied my face makeup, including eyeliner and mascara. And when I came back, I used two of my eye pencils, a darker green and a mint green, and I just applied them both on my waterline to create a kind of medium green shade, and that actually turned out to be a lot more blue when I mixed them together than I expected. So because of that, I decided that I'm gonna add some of the blue shade under my eye as well, which is called Aurora in the Natasha Denona palette, and it's called Artemis in the Goddess palette. So this is how it looks, and honestly I like the dupe side more than I like the original one. I think that this Goddess palette is a bomb. So if you are interested in the Natasha Denona Gold palette but you haven't purchased it yet, I would highly suggest to go online, and if you are from the USA or you have access to this palette using eBay, Amazon, shipping services, definitely do so, because this is actually better than the original one for seriously a fraction of the price. It's $16. I believe that must be about £13 in the UK, and like I said, the original one is $129 in the USA and $111 in the UK. So you're gonna save a massive chunk of the money, and you are actually going to be happier than you would have been using the Natasha Denona palette. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. And until next time, take care of yourself. I will see you very soon.